Welcome back to AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. I'm Leo.
Background. Exactly. And when we talk about technical points in policy, we're really looking at how specific mechanisms are being discussed. For example, the ongoing legislative discussions aren't just abstract. They're very much focused on concrete issues like deepfakes and national security concerns. And the NTIA is advancing its work on AI accountability. These aren't big, splashy headlines, but they're concrete steps towards operationalizing governance. This week also saw continued calls from some lawmakers and industry for safe harbor provisions, or regulatory sandboxes, which are technical mechanisms to allow for testing new AI tech without immediate full liability. A clear federal standard would ideally streamline operations and prevent a messy patchwork of state-level regulations. However, getting to that standard is proving to be a slow and complex journey. And it's not just Congress. Federal agencies like NIST and NTIA are actively engaging with stakeholders, holding workshops, and soliciting public comments to ensure their guidance is relevant and actionable. This week, there was a particularly strong emphasis across expert commentary on the urgent need for legislation to combat AI-generated deepfakes, especially with the 2024 election approaching, linking it directly to national security and democratic stability. And with an election year looming, broader, more controversial legislation might well be delayed, leaving those complex questions about enforcement and liability for another day.
Quick reminder after the bumper. If AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems helps you, subscribe now so you do not miss next week.
AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. It feels like we're constantly talking about this, Sarah, but the US AI market continues to be a global powerhouse. Innovation is exploding, especially in generative AI. But this rapid growth is happening against a pretty uncertain regulatory backdrop. Right. The challenge isn't just if we regulate, but how. Federal agencies, under President Biden's executive order, are quietly doing a lot of the heavy lifting, which is essentially trying to build a bridge between rapid innovation and necessary oversight. It's about finding those practical, technical solutions to allow for progress while addressing risks head-on. Market impact? Industry leaders from OpenAI to IBM are also at the table, advocating for a risk-based approach and offering their technical expertise. They're trying to ensure any regulation is flexible enough to adapt to rapid technological shifts. So what we're seeing is a prolonged and multifaceted process, rather than a quick Big Bang legislative solution. An iterative, sector-specific approach seems to be the most likely path forward for now, tackling issues like deepfakes or copyright individually. But the conversation continues, balancing the incredible potential of AI with the need for strong ethical guardrails and security. Before we jump back in, tap subscribe for AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems so you get every weekly episode.
AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. Absolutely, Leo. Companies from the titans like Google and Microsoft to agile startups are deploying AI at an incredible pace. While the industry generally craves clear, consistent guidelines, there's also a palpable fear that overly prescriptive rules could stifle that very innovation and put U.S. companies at a disadvantage globally. NIST, for instance, is pushing forward with AI safety standards and developing red teaming guidelines, which are crucial technical underpinnings for secure AI. From a market perspective, all this regulatory uncertainty can really temper long-term investment, especially for smaller startups. They might not have the resources to navigate a fragmented legal landscape or to prepare for potentially drastic future compliance costs. And let's not forget the global implications. How the U.S. decides to regulate AI will undoubtedly influence international norms and could either help or hinder our global leadership in this crucial sector. Expert commentary. Exactly. The executive order will continue to drive a lot of the immediate federal AI policy through agency guidance and standards. It's essentially building a regulatory landscape from the bottom up, even without a sweeping congressional bill. That's all for this week's AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. Quick reminder after the bumper. If AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems helps you, subscribe now so you do not miss next week.
And today, we're diving deep into the intricate and often slow-moving world of federal AI governance in the United States, particularly focusing on the policy and security challenges unfolding this week. It's a classic balancing act, isn't it? Many firms are already leaning into self-regulation and voluntary frameworks like NIST's AI Risk Management Framework, preparing for the inevitable while trying to influence what that future looks like. This week really highlighted that continued push for a balanced approach. Key technical points. Definitely. Investors are watching closely because the eventual framework will dictate everything from compliance burdens to acceptable risk profiles. But on the flip side, this ongoing dialogue also gives the industry a chance to actively shape the rules, pushing for approaches that champion responsible innovation. The experts have certainly been busy. Legislators across committees continue to draft and refine proposals. Senator Schumer's AI Insight Forums, for example, might be wrapped up, but they're still heavily informing legislative strategy, with lawmakers reflecting on feedback from over 100 experts. And we can't forget the critical input from academia and civil society groups. They're constantly highlighting issues like bias, privacy, and civil liberties, pushing for robust safeguards and independent oversight, which is vital for building public trust. Conclusion. Join us next time for more on AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. That's what's changing for users and businesses this week. Thanks for listening to AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. Check back next time. There's always something new happening in AI. See you then.